Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Pkmn 16 here, and well, I'm deciding to just do something a little fun here, and that is gonna be pretty much me picking my favorite Pokemon of every type from every generation, yep, including Gen 9, and at the end, I'll be picking my overall favorite Pokemon of each type. And then, as you can see here, there are different other choices like my favorite regional bird, regional mammal, regional bug, pseudo legendary, Pkmn, and all that. The only one that I won't be going after is the Spinda form because that's not really all that to me. And then maybe just maybe I would pick a team of my overall favorites. But without wasting any more time, we're going to get into this, and hopefully you guys have a good snack and drink, because this is going to be a long one for sure. Because, again, we're going over all the types, including starters, gimmick forms, legendaries, and overall favorites from that generation. And then, who knows, maybe I'll probably do another one where I talk about my overall favorite shinies of the same categories. So who really knows? So anyway, let's get started. So we're going to kick things off with Generation 1, and starting off with the normal type. Now, when it comes to my favorite Generation 1 normal type, I do have some selections, like there's Pidgeot, Kangaskhan, Tauros, Eevee, Porygon, Snorlax. But if there is one that I would have to pick for my favorite Gen 1 normal type, I would honestly. I. Ooh. I'm gonna toss between Pidgeot or Snorlax. I mean, also Kangaskhan, but I think honestly. Ooh. I think I'm gonna go with Pidgeot on this one, because I really have my thing for humongous birds. Not like really big birds, but well, okay, yeah, really, I just have a thing for birds. So yeah, going with Pidgeot. Now for the fire types. I only have a few handful that I like of the Gen 1 fire types, being Charizard, Arcanine, Magmar, and Moltres. But if there had to be one to choose, I mean, teenage me would never pick Charizard, but by today's standards, as an adult, I'm picking Charizard. Say what you will, I do like Charizard by today. Now, for water, yeah, there's definitely a lot of water types to choose from, but I've already had one in mind, and it's not who you think it is. It's not Blastoise. It's not even Gyarados. Not even Lapras. It's Kingler. Yeah, I I just like Kingler a lot. I just kind of have a thing for a big crab. Now, for grass types, well, obviously to me, I only have one Pokemon in mind for my favorite grass type for Gen 1, and that is Venusaur. So yeah, it's kind of funny that I pick Charizard and Venusaur for favorite grass and fire type, but not Blastoise for water. I just really like the crab that much. Now for electric. Uh, it's kind of a toss of Raichu, Electabuzz, Magneton, and Zapdos, but I want to try my best to avoid legendaries or duplicates. If I don't really have any other choice, then I will pick either a duplicate or a legendary. But in the case of electric, I gotta show my loving for Raichu. Because, let's all be real here, Raichu has been vastly overshadowed for years. And he needs more. He needs more loving. And I mean, yeah, there are those dedicated Raichu fans out there, me included, but the big mouse needs some more loving, okay? Now moving on to Ice. Not a very good selection of Ice types, but if there is one that I would be picking for my favorite, I'm going with... I'm going with Clayster. Because, well, Ice is not really my particularly favorite type. Not because of the whole thing of people saying about their complaint about Ice types. It's just Ice is not really my preferred type. Now on to fighting. Well, I just gotta go Machamp. I don't know. There's just something about him that just really sticks out. If it wasn't Machamp, it probably would be Poliwrath. But Poison, scoot you over here. There's a lot of poison types to choose, but I already know my pick for Poison, and that is Arbok. He's basically a snake. He's the King Cobra. And as someone who is a massive adorer of snakes, I gotta go with him. Now for ground types, I think there is one obvious choice here, and that is Nidoking. Because, I mean, come on. He is such an amazing Gen 1 Pokemon for what he is. Especially with the Sheer Force Life Orb combo and all the moves that he can use. On to Flying. Since Charizard and Pidgeot have already been taken, I'm actually going to give this one to Aerodactyl. Because, well, he's a cool looking pterosaur. What else is there to say? Psychic, well, I feel like I want to keep Mewtwo out, but I'd probably say for this, I'm going with Alakazam. For Bug would be a little bit tougher, but it's kind of the toss between Scyther and Pinsir. As much as I would love to pick Pinsir, but with Scyther just being right there, how can I not? Scyther is just one of those iconic Gen 1 bug types. Now for Rock, well, honestly here, I'm going with Rhydon. And please do not make the joke about Rhydon and well, you know what I mean. For Ghost, since there's only one Ghost type line, I would have to pick one. That being Haunter. Cause yeah, I'm gonna be real. I actually like Haunter more than Gengar. But don't get me wrong, Gengar is a cool Pokemon, but I just like Haunter more. Now for Dragons, it's obviously going to be Dragonite. But not to just play Dratini or Dragonair. They're both very pretty looking dragon types. And since Gen 1 doesn't necessarily have any dark types, I'll just put in the substitute doll to say, yeah. Steel types, obviously going to go with Magneton. Now, Fairy types. Now, I'm going to be real. Fairy is my least favorite type. Because I really can't exactly explain why I dislike the Fairy type. I just do. But for Gen 1, if I had to pick a Gen 1 Fairy type, I'll say Clefable. Now, for the starters. Now, I know the reason why they put Pikachu and Eevee here is because of the Let's Go games. But I'm only going to go with the final forms. But I mean, I like all three of the Kanto starters. But if there had to be one, if there had to be one. This would pretty much be my first repeat, but I'm going Charizard. Now for the gimmick forms. This is pretty much the Gen 1 Megas and Gigantamax forms. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There are just so many good ones. The Kanto Megas, Beedrill, Gengar, Pinsir, Gyarados, Gmax Charizard, Gmax Kingler. But if there was one to be chosen, it would be Mega Charizard X. I like that thing way too much. Now for legendaries, it's obviously to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Mewtwo. I've really grown to like Mewtwo. Now, the question being, what is my favorite overall Gen 1 Pokemon? Ooh, well, if there is one, it's a very tough decision. And it's probably going to be like that for all the rest of the generations once I pick them all. But if I had to pick one Pokemon to be my favorite overall Generation 1 Pokemon, it would be Nidoking. Nidoking has such a very awesome design. Love the shiny. One of the best users of Sheer Force Life Orb. With the move pool that it has, what else is there to say? Well, really the case of Nidoking should have been much bigger than what the deck says. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it for Gen 1. Now to move on to Generation 2. Possibly my least favorite generation when it comes to its roster. Because not a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon really appealed to me a lot. But we'll just press on and choose. So for Gen 2 Normal, I gotta give it to the Big Bear, Ursaring. For Fire, oh, I mean, how can I when Ho-Oh is right there? I'm, oh, I can't turn away Ho-Oh. And I feel like Gen 2 is probably more than likely going to have maybe some duplicates. Because again, Gen 2's roster doesn't really appeal to me too much. Now for Gen 2 Water, there is a clear choice for me in Feraligatr. I mean, Gators, Crocs, Caimans, and Garioles, they're like my favorite animals of all time. Especially Crocs. So yeah, how could I not? Now for Grass, ooh. Remembering how kind of lacking there is for Gen 2 grass types. But if one had to be chosen, well, I'll give this one to Meganium. I mean, I think Meganium's pretty. It's a pretty legend or it's a pretty starter. And hopefully when Legend ZA come out, that the starters all actually get like some sort of new form. Whether it be a regional variant or a Mega Evolution. Either way, I'll enjoy it either way. Now for Gen 2 Electric. I mean, come on. Raikou right there. How can I not? For Ice, ooh. Boy. Gen 2 really does not have the best Ice types around. But if there's one that I have to pick, it'd be Sneasel. Yeah, for fighting, I mean, obviously Heracross. He's too cool of a bug fighting type to not pick. For poison, I'm it's either Ariados or Crobat. I think I'm going Crobat. Now for ground. Okay, here's what I am thinking of. I'm going with Donphan. First of the Pachyderms. So yeah, flying. Um, hmm. If there had to be one for flying, since Crobat and Ho-Oh have already been chosen, and like I said, I want to try and avoid duplicates, I'm gonna go with Skarmory. Skarmory's still pretty cool. Now for Sidekick, oof. Even having all of the unknown forms. Although, question and exclamation are not there. But, if I had to go with one, I think I'm actually going to go with Espeon. For Bug, well, since I already chose Heracross, I'm going with Scizor. Scizor is still pretty cool. For Rock, I mean, obviously, Tyranitar. Tyranitar is just too cool. And since Misdreavus is the only Ghost type, and Kingdra being the only Dragon type, now Dark, since I've already picked Tyranitar, it's either Umbreon or Houndoom. I'm going Houndoom. Now, Steel, well, obviously the one who has Steel in his name, Steelix. For Fairy, I think, in all honesty, I'm gonna go Meryl. I don't know why. I just kind of have a little liking towards Meryl. Now for the starter. I mean, come on, Froligator. Gimmick form? Oh, easily Mega Steelix. Legendary, no doubt in my mind, Ho-Oh. And my overall favorite Generation 2 Pokemon, one more time, Ho-Oh. Because I've always been a Ho-Oh fan ever since. Yeah, I've always preferred Ho-Oh over Lugia. So, yeah. So now, moving on to Generation 3, my favorite generation, and pretty much the generation that I grew up with. So, Gen 3 normal, well, in all honesty, it's Zangoose. Zangoose is such a vastly underrated normal type. And his shiny is just amazing. That and also Ho-Oh's shiny is just one of the best shinies of all time. You can't deny that. Gen 3 Fire? Well, excuse me. For Gen 3 Fire type, yeah, I believe I'm gonna go Blaziken. For Gen 3 Water, how can I not pick my boy Swampert? And for Grass, yeah, this will be the first instance where all three starters get picked for Fire, Water, and Grass, because Gen 3 just has really good starters. For Electric, for me, there's only one obvious choice in Manectric. For Ice, I believe I will actually go with Regice. I know some people pronounce it as Regice, but it's really more so of Regice, because if it would have been Regice, there would be two I's instead of one. So it's Regice. Now for fighting. This may come as a surprise to you people, but for fighting, I'm actually picking Combuskin. I don't know why, I just like Combuskin. Now for poison, it's obviously Seviper. Seviper is just a really awesome snake Pokemon, which it's still funny to this day for me that in that one trainer's choice in the Pokemon anime where they said which Pokemon evolves into Seviper, and they said it was Arbok that evolves into Seviper. That was just the funniest thing ever. Which, as funny as it is clearly not true. But we're moving on. To ground. Since Swampert has already been chosen, I'm obviously going to go with the next best choice in Groudon. For flying, you gotta like the fact that they even include Shadow Lugia. But for flying, ooh. Since I'm actually gonna go with Salamence for a flying type. For Psychic, I am gonna go with Deoxys attack form specifically. For Bug, um, I think I'm going to go with Armaldo. For Rock, I'm pretty much gonna go with Regirock. Regirock. For the Ghosts, ooh, this is a little bit tougher for me. I mean, none of the Gen 3 Ghost types really stick out to me too much. But I think I am going to go with Dusclops. For Dragon, there is one obvious clear choice here in Rayquaza. For Dark, again, this will probably be a surprise to some of you, but I'm actually going with Crawdaunt. Because, well, I just like it. For Steel, there is no other choice for me but Metagross. It is just one of the coolest Pokemon ever made. For Fairy type, obviously it's going to go to Gardevoir. And no, I'm not that kind of person. So you're not gonna say anything about that. Because seriously, I'm not that person when it comes to Gardevoir. Now, for starters, again, I still gotta go with my boy Swampert. Him and one other starter are both in the throne for my favorite starters of all time. For gimmick forms, well, when it comes to these gimmick forms, I do say that my favorite would actually be Primal Kyogre. Cause to me, the way how I see the sprite, but not only that, but when I saw it in game, it just looked so stinking good. But really, both Primals and Mega Rayquaza would all be on that throne. But I had to go with one. Now for Legendary, it's obviously Rayquaza, and he is also my favorite overall Gen 3 Pokemon overall. And yes, I am the person who will pronounce it as Rayquaza and not Rayquaza, because I'll tell you this, people who say Rayquaza over Rayquaza is no doubt my biggest pet peeve in Pokemon. Just gonna say that right there. So, we are now kind of on the approach to our halfway mark. So, now to be covering Generation 4. Pretty much my second favorite generation in terms of its roster. So, Gen 4 normal types. Now, for me, I have two clear contenders, Regigigas and God of all Pokemon, Arceus. But if I had to pick one, it's definitely going to be Arceus. Now, Gen 4 Fire. Um, hmm. I'm actually going to go with Heatran. Now, for Water. Ooh, boy, boy, boy. As much as I want to pick Palkia, I don't really see him as much of a water type, despite the fact of him being the ruler of space and everything. But I'm going to go with Empoleon. And for grass, it is obviously Torterra. For electric, Gen 4 electric, I'm actually going to go with Electivire. A Pokemon that I thought he was going to be he was a Pokemon that looked to be destined for competitive greatness, but sadly fell flat. But I mean, he's not like completely, utterly awful. It's just, he could have been so much better. Now, Gen 4 Ice. I'm gonna be going with Mamoswine, because it's a mammoth. I mean, I do have my thing for the big pachyderms, like the elephants and rhinos. Now, for fighting, this is where I will pick Infernape, because that is my other favorite starter of all time, next to Swampert. I've just grown to love those two. Especially the case of Ash's Infernape in the Diamond and Pearls era of the anime. Now, Poison, I'm definitely going to be picking Drapion because it's an interesting take on a scorpion Pokemon, even though he's not a bug type. But I ain't complaining about that. Now, for ground, well, ooh, did not mean to do that. Sometimes my finger does that at times. For ground, since Mamoswine's already been picked, and so has been Torterra, I'm actually going to go with Gliscor. A very awesome evolution for Gligar. And one that was very much needed. Now for flying, I'm going to say Yanmega. Because the thing I like about Yanmega is what it's based off of, which is the Meganeura, which is pretty much a very ancient species of dragonfly that existed around 300 million years ago. And to simply put it, Meganeura was simply a dragonfly that grew to the size of today's birds of prey like hawks, eagles, falcons, or pretty much like a hawk. Yeah, they were that big. So for sidekicks, I'm definitely picking Cresselia because it is a very pretty looking psychic type. Now for bug, since Yanmega's already been picked, I think I'm gonna go with Drapion's pre-evo in Skorupi, cause I still kind of like it. For rock, for rock type, I'm going Rhyperior, and it really really upsets me when I hear people complaining about Rhyperior being a a quote downgrade to Rhydon, which I heavily disagree with. Because when looking at Rhyperior's stats, oh man, does he know how to hit hard like a truck? No, more like a freight train, and not ugly by any means, and not a downgrade to Rhydon. But that's just me. Now for ghosts, there is one clear, obvious choice for me, and that is Giratina, but more specifically, his origin form. It is so stinking good. For Dragon, well, I'm actually going to go with Garchomp. Because, I mean, what is there not to like about Garchomp? Despite the fact that this thing is just an absolute menace. And you really wonder why Cynthia had this Pokemon as her star. Because, holy cow. For Dark types, I'm definitely going with Darkrai. Steel, definitely going Dialga. Because, I mean, you just look at that design and you just go, wow. Fairy type, obviously Togekiss. Now, starter, yeah, Infernape. Gimmick form, well, actually, my favorite gimmick form for Gen 4 would actually be Mega Lucario. And just as a bit of a notion here, that Mega Lucario is actually my favorite Mega Evolution. Now, for Legendary, ooh, I would say for Legendary, it would have to be Origin Form Giratina, and my overall favorite Generation 4 Pokemon, I mean, I go Infernape. So Infernape is definitely my overall favorite Gen 4 Pokemon. Alright, so we got Gens 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more generations to go. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, and I guess we'll just come back here for part 2 of my favorite for each type for every other generation.